welcome again to the Atlanta Radio Theater Company's podcast, your monthly source for the best in free original audio drama. ARTC is just about to wrap up its 25th anniversary celebration and wants to thank all of you for your support. Stay tuned as we forge on into next year with exciting new developments in podcasting and audio drama. This month we continue with The Call of Cthulhu by H.P. Lovecraft, adapted for audio by Ron N. Butler, recorded live at DragonCon over Labor Day weekend. Our next live show will be at the Academy Theater in Avondale Estates, where we will present An Atlantic Christmas by Thomas E. Fuller on December 5th and 6th, a celebration of the season seen through Southern eyes. Stay up to date with all things artsy on our mailing list. Subscribe to Breaking Radio Silence, the monthly newsletter for the Atlanta Radio Theater Company at artc.org. Check out the old news in the archives at blog.artc.org, including this month's survey where you can help us decide what to take into the studio next. And now, part 2 of The Call of Cthulhu.
Original of a letter from Francis W. Thurston, professor of archaeology at Miskatonic University at Arkham, Massachusetts, to his uncle, George G. Angel, professor emeritus of Semitic languages at Brown University, dated May 15th, 1925.
Uncle George, I am posting this to you just before I board RMS Ulysses at Sydney Harbor bound for San Francisco. I expect to arrive on our west coast about July 1st and will take a train immediately for Providence, or possibly even an airplane. The matter is that urgent. Why am I writing to you? You will recall you once showed me a curious statue you kept on a top shelf in the back of your offices at Brown University. A monstrously ugly object like an ape with a squid's head. You seemed uneasy about it. I can understand now your anxiety, for its revolting twin sits before me as I write, and I have seen worse. Infinitely worse. Our survey of Cyclopean ruins off Tasmania wrapped up in February, and I dispatched Miskatonic University's motor vessel Mystic onward to its next destination. I took charge of the specimens we had dredged from the seafloor and planned to accompany them back to Arkham aboard the freighter Emma. By the 22nd of March, we were well on our way to Cape Horn and the Drake Passage. Good morning, Captain Collins. You called for me?
Good morning to you, Professor. Yes, I did. We've had another vessel bearing down on us for the last hour. Just a yacht, but they're being damn persistent. Not knowing their intentions and you being the chartering party, I thought it might be best for you to be on hand.
Well, thank you. By George, you're right. They're right up on us.
Yeah, just about hailing distance, I'd say.
Ahoy! What ship there? What ship?
Emma out of harbor from Arkham, and what business of yours?
Yacht repulse. Go about. You will not be allowed to stay on this coast.
Not allowed? By whose orders, sir?
By him who may not be questioned. Go about.
I'll be damned if I will. Sheer off. Out of my way.
You had your chance.
Heh, let's see what they can do about it all the same. Mr. Green!
Yes, sir.
Go to my cabin, open the arms locker, begin parceling out firearms for the crew.
Aye, aye, sir.
I dealt with Kriegsmarine during the Great War. Never thought I'd run into pirates, though.
Captain, if you would look at those men just forward of the wheelhouse on the yacht, the ones peeling a canvas cover off something.
It's a deck gun. Dear God, off a U-boat or on Blind Green!
Sir!
General quarters, tell the engineer to look to his steam lines or watertight doors. Give me full ahead.
Sir!
That's below the waterline. We can't take too many more like that. Helm, hard to starboard.
Aye, aye, sir. Captain, engineer says we're taking on water fast. Not sure if the pumps can keep up.
Did you get off a distress call?
No, sir. Atmospherics turned funny during the bed watch. Can't send or receive.
I suspect they did it for the pumps.
Dynamite! They're throwing sticks of dynamite onto the deck.
All right, we can't just sit here and take it. Mr. Green, we'll come about and I'll layer alongside the yacht. You take the men with pistols on board. What was that?
Dynamite! Hit the deck!
Captain! Captain!
I think that's you now, Green. Captain Collins was dead, but his first mate carried out his last orders. The helmsman laid the foundering Emma alongside the yacht, and Green led his crew down the freighter's side. It was a battle without quarter or mercy. The mongrel crew of the Alert fought as if they were insane and half animal. After a red 10 minutes, they were all dead. but so too were half the Emma crew who had boarded the yacht.
Few are thy days and full of woe, O man of woman
As we
born.
raised our heads, the shattered freighter suddenly rolled over and sank inside a minute, taking the engineering crew and a dozen more stay-behinds with her. If we were to survive at all, we would have to make some port in the Alert.
What shape is she in, Harry?
Firing that deck gun near broke a frame, but we got our bilges dry.
Oil tanks are half full. They must have come straight out from Auckland to here. And this is the middle of nowhere.
These mad beggars was sleeping on the decks. The owner's cabin is fitted out with silks and velvet, but there weren't nothing in it but this.
What the oiler cradled in his arms was the twin of that loathsome idol sitting on your shelf.
Give it to the professor there. Well, sir, can you make anything of it?
Other than that these pirates worshipped it, and that it's an evil-looking thing? No.
Mr. Cowell's your first mate now. Bring her around east-northeast.
What? But that doesn't make sense. Emma's gone and her cargo. Shouldn't we turn back to New Zealand?
Those murdering beggars didn't want us going forward, so that's where I intend to go, and that's an order.
Did Green's determination to sail on make sense? No. It was only much later that I began to suspect that the same voice that had commanded the Alert's crew to fight us to the death was now calling Green forward to do its bidding.
Land ho! 2 points off the starboard bow!
The next morning we sighted land, but what land? A steeply rising crag of oozing, weed-draped rock covered by warped cyclopean architecture and crowned by a misshapen monolith, itself tipped by an enormous twin of the pirate crew's reptilian idol.
Make for the bay in the south. We'll anchor there.
There was a perfectly circular little bay, like the sea-filled mouth of a volcano, or the crater left by the impact of some enormous bomb or fist. As soon as we anchored, Green made ready to take everyone ashore. Captain, why everyone? Shouldn't you leave someone aboard to look after the yacht?
I finally figured you out, Professor. You're yellow. Damned if I leave you here by yourself. You'd probably sail away and leave us marooned.
Then I'll come with you, but I'm asking you again, why everyone?
We have work to do ashore.
What work? Whose work? He didn't answer me. He had no answer, but he did have a good loud voice.
Bryden, you bring up the rear. Make sure this white-livered coward doesn't go dodging back to the boat.
Aye, aye, sir.
Captain Green, at least do this one thing. Leave the steam pressure on the boiler up. Look around you, man. This place stinks and drips as if it just rose out of the sea. These buildings aren't the work of any civilization I ever heard of. Even the angles on the light look wrong. Don't you imagine you might want to leave this place quickly? That penetrated the obsession that had hold of him. I don't think I'm a coward, but all those things that I had described about this island, and much, much more, were raising a sick fear inside me, and in the crewmen, and in Green.
All right, I'll do that much. Now get in the boat.
Ashore, we clambered, slipping and falling up over the house-sized stone blocks up to the base of the towering monolith. Bryden and I were still well below, gasping in the chill yet steaming air, when one of the leaders, Angstrom, I think, shouted,
Is this a door?
I stopped to look upward. Green and the others were standing beside, or was it on? The horizontal and vertical did not seem to be steady. Standing on an enormous panel carved with the monstrous squid dragon creature. Don't open it! I started to shout. But how could they open a door so huge? Donovan, the fool, pounded and pressed all around the edges of the thing. Then he jumped up on it and walked up, or was it slanted, to the top. And very softly and slowly, the acre-sized lintel began to give inward. It was a door, and it was balanced as finely as any watch. He slipped and disappeared into the darkness. We never saw or heard him again, but no one was about to follow and rescue him. The opening was black with a darkness almost material. It was material, bursting forth like a blast of black wind, darkening the already pale sun. The sailors fell back from the noise, the blackness, the stench, except Green, who stood where he was, stupefied or enthralled. How can I describe what came forth? I cannot. It was a mountain. It staggered and stumbled, slopped and slobbered. It was the dragon squid of the carvings, but not yet flesh, as if solidifying from darkness to vapor, to jelly and gristle, to Oh, lunacy and horror! A star-spawned obscenity come forth to reclaim the earth. At a single impulse, we turned and ran, stumbling over the oozy, slime-green boulders and slabs. No, not all. I glanced back and saw that Green had fallen to his knees before the thing. A great arm swung round, still wavering between solidity and the immaterial. The claws snatched him up, a tiny figure, and tossed him into the center of the writhing mass of tentacles that must center on a mouth. I pushed Bryden before me, trying to place my feet, knowing any misstep would kill me. One of the men above us must have stumbled. I heard the breaking of his leg like a pistol shot. He screamed, but not for long. I never saw what happened to the rest. Only Bryden and I reached the boat, pulled for the Alert. The thing, solid enough now to stand half upright, followed us. But it stopped at the water's edge. There it stood, watching, while we jettisoned the anchor, brought the steam plant up, and began racketing our way towards the entrance of the little bay. For a moment, I thought it might simply watch us make our escape.
No, it's following us! It'll cut us off!
Bryden was right. The horror was following us along the margin of the bay, out onto the spit of land that formed its entry, and then it was swimming, undulating towards us, the squid head big as an elephant held high out of the water.
It'll have us! It'll eat us like the others!
No, it's still not solid. Full speed! I think that is the moment when Bryden went mad. At full speed, Alert hit the thing full in the face, slowed, then picked up way again. There was a bursting like an exploding airship, a slushy nastiness like a cloven sunfish, a stench as of 1,000 open graves. Where the iron keel of Alert touched the thing's flesh, there was a sizzling roar. For an instant, we were surrounded by an acrid and blinding green cloud, and then there was only a venomous seething astern. I turned to look. Dear God, the thing was still alive and reforming. But then, how could a mere man hope to kill a god? I thought for a moment of terror that it would pursue us, but the waters around Alert, along the shores of the island and the little bay, danced and sparkled in the muddy light. The silhouette of the island blurred for a moment, and when I could see it clearly again, the monolith seemed a bit less high, the bay a fraction larger, as if the whole island had slipped a few feet back into the sea. Again, and the star-begotten horror, almost solid now, turned and strode up the cyclopean blocks, perfectly sized to be a staircase for it, I saw, back to its tomb, to sleep until once again the stars should be right. A curtain of rain fell between Alert and the island, and I saw it no more. Something had gone out of my soul. It was all I could do to lean against the wheel and breathe and weep. Alert ran south until the fuel tanks were dry. Then we drifted. Bryden left me at some point, going I know not where. At some point, a great storm swept over us from the north. I calculate now that it was the 2nd of April, and I suspect that was the date when the waters of the Pacific closed over the thing's tomb. A timeless time afterward, I heard,
Ahoy the yacht! Is anyone there? Ahoy the yacht!
I'm here.
I see an arm waving. Send the boat over.
This one's still alive. Not this one.
She was the Morrison Company's freighter Vigilant, bound from Valparaiso to Sydney. They took Alert under tow, began nursing me back to health, and buried Bryden at sea. At Sydney, there was an Admiralty court, most of whose questions I evaded, not wanting to end my days in an Australian insane asylum. I was easily able to plead ill health. My hair has gone stark white, and the face I see in my mirror has a haunted look about the eyes. As for my dreams, Uncle, you know something about all this. The stone idol in your office, whose living counterpart I have seen, tells me that. I bring with me Alert's idol and a manuscript in a steel case in which I have written all I have learned about this cult, far more than I could put in this letter, and its monstrous deity. Uncle, there is nothing we can do about the alignments of the stars, or to affect the rise and fall of continents, but if mankind is to have any future on this earth, we must begin to think and plan how to destroy this unearthly obscenity that sleeps beneath the Pacific, or it will devour mankind in its turn. Sincerely, your nephew, Francis W. Thurston, Ph.D.
From the private files of Albert A. Baker, attorney, Providence, Rhode Island. The first letter above I found in the office of Professor George Angel, an old client and friend of mine. On the 25th of June this year, George was returning from the Newport boat when he was jostled in the street by a foreign-looking man in a sailor's pea jacket. He collapsed a few yards away and died in minutes. Physicians were unable to find any cause for his death.
I am the resurrection and the life.
As his executor, I set about putting his files in order. I found the letter folded minutely and slipped into a copy of Bacon's Thesaurus Chemicus, but Angel's files contained no further references to an Inspector Jean Lagrasse or to a Mr. Henry Wilcox. Nor was there a peculiar statue, part gorilla, part dragon, part squid, in his office. The second letter, from George's nephew, Professor Francis Thurston, arrived the week after George's death. Inquiries to an associate in San Francisco discovered that RMS Ulysses had indeed docked on July 1st, but Professor Thurston was not with her. He had disappeared the night before and was presumed to have fallen overboard in the dark. An inventory of his luggage revealed neither a statue nor a manuscript in a steel case. I will place both letters in my file of most confidential papers, the one I keep in a safe deposit box, not to be opened until after my own death. After that, they will be some future someone's problem. If there is a future for mankind on this planet, I have my doubts, for the cult still lives, and their arm is long. The stars will align themselves again, and in his house at Rillia, dead Cthulhu lies dreaming.
St. Louis, motherland of Cthulhu, Rillia,
You've been listening to Part 2 of The Call of Cthulhu, written by H.P. Lovecraft and adapted for audio by Ron N. Butler. Featured in the cast were the voices of Ron Zukowski, Daniel Taylor, Sketch McQuinner, Trudy Leonard, Daniel Kiernan, Hal Wiedemann, Ron N. Butler, Tammy Hood, Brian Troxel, and David Benedict. Sound engineering by Bob Zimmerman. Live Foley sound effects created by Fiona K. Leonard and Lily. Recorded sound effects performed by Rachel Bowman. Music composed and performed by Alton Leonard. The show was produced and directed by Ron N. Butler and David Benedict. If you're enjoying these podcasts, please remember that ARTC is supported by people like you through the sale of our studio productions. Order by mail through artc.org, download at audible.com or iTunes, and also look for us on Amazon. You can also now show your support of quality original audio drama to the world with our expanded merchandise line available through cafepress.com/ARTC. Thank you for listening. Join us again, and remember, there is adventure in sound. All material is copyright by its creators or the Atlanta Radio Theater Company.
ARTC.org